Hey team, just a quick one before the episode kicks off. Make sure to use the code MOMENTUM for 10% off on-track meals. When you're getting your nutrition in check, on-track meals help out a lot. Really good for on-the-go workers, especially tradies and whatnot. Smoko can be pretty high in calorie, and when you're trying to cut down, sometimes that can be a bit of an issue. So on-track meals sorts that all out for you. Really good, high quality, ready to go meals for you there. 10% off with the code MOMENTUM. Also, Breathe Ease, leveling up the recovery game. Make sure to use the 10% off code there, MOMENTUM, for Breathe Ease products. Best in the game when it comes to recovery, in training as well. You see Jakey rocking them on the episodes quite a bit. So use the code down here, MOMENTUM, for 10% off.
Jakey, what's doing?
Mate, very little. Looking forward to talking some footy, talking Origin, more importantly, and looking forward to the build-up to this weekend, and obviously the decider up in Suncorp the week after on a Wednesday night.
That's it. We'll get stuck into the Origin teams because obviously that is the biggest news over the last couple of days. For New South Wales, Api Coruscant drops out. Brian To'o is sensationally dropped. Dylan Lucas dropped after only one game of Origin. And then Katoni Staggs also dropped after the last two games as well. The guys that come in, Blake Bradley returns after being taken out of the side due to injury. Bradman Best, the Game 3 specialist, is in. Hamole back in, Liam Martin to start at the right edge back row position, and then we've got big Stephen Crichton, in that right centre pocket. Jack Bostock is on the wing for To'o. Mate, out of all of that, what stands out to you the most?
For me, Bradman Best. I really thought Katoni Staggs was going to hold his centre position, but obviously, Best has got the nod. I like Bostock on the wing. I was under the assumption McLean was going to be fit, and that's why I put him forward to take that wing position. But Bostock's got in there, and I wish him all the best. I think he's been in great touch in the centres for the Dolphins, so it's great to see him being rewarded for effort. My biggest thing, probably, above all, and I think it's a major discussion point, is Uluwatu on the bench with Liam Martin starting. Now, I just want to dive into this a little bit more. He's the form back row in the competition, yet can't seem to crack the rep team in which his position was game 2 taken away from him, and then for whatever reason had an absolute pearler and blinder and set the tone for Manly against Melbourne on the weekend. And the role position is more than likely going to be him playing out of position, I feel, unless there's an injury to one of the back rowers. So there'll be minimal minutes, if any at all, depending on how the game takes shape by the look of the New South Wales bench also. What are your thoughts with that?
Well, look, on Uluwatu, I think it's great that he's back in the side. I think that we would have been all scratching our heads if Uluwatu wasn't thrown back into this 17. I like it. I think that Liam Martin can just take the mongrel out of the first couple of minutes there and really set the tone in the back row. And then you got Uluwatu on for the back end of the game. I think that Liam Martin probably plays the first 20 to 30 minutes in the back row there. I think Kamole Uluwatu will come on after that, finish the first half, and then play out the rest of the game. And I think, Radley's obviously dropped down to jersey 20 as well. I think there's a chance that we see our mate Liam Martin play a bit of middle as well. That's sort of what I'm thinking with this rotation. Is there a world where you sort of see that happening, whether this with Radley dropping out of the side?
Yeah, I would. If that's the rotation you're going for, I think it makes more sense and is logical to start Uluwatu and have Liam Martin on the bench just to strictly play that middle role. I can't for the life of me not understand how the best back rower in the world at this present time and probably top 5 player in the competition can't get his number 1 spot in the team. It blows my mind.
I'm not too sure if it's, in regards to pecking order, if that's what the thing is, like him being on the bench. I don't think it's because, Laurie Daly has Liam Martin in a higher position to what Uluwatu is. I think it's more so just because, obviously in game 1, Hamole Uluwatu was heavily cramped. I don't think the plan is to play Hamole the full 80 minutes, purely because of that reason. You just want him at his best for the time that he's on the field. So I think it is just, Liam Martin taking the sting out of the game, playing the first 20 to 25 in the back row, and just being that crazy line runner, mongrel, defensive weapon on that edge and putting on some shots on to start the game. And Then you get Hamole, destructive. As I said, he finishes off that first half and then plays out the rest of the game. And Martin comes back on in the second half through the middle. So starts the game in the back row, then he comes back on in the second half through the middle of the field. I think that's the way that they're going to look to use Liam Martin. I'm just happy more so that Olakau'atu's in the side. And if the plan is, to bring him on off the bench and you get the best of Olakau'atu for 50 minutes versus Hamole Olakau'atu cramping up, having to play the full 80 minutes, I'd probably prefer the first one, to be completely honest. Mate, looking at, obviously, Bostock coming in. Obviously, you mentioned he's in some great form. I agree. Probably one of the informed centres of the competition. He has been playing centre this year. Obviously, moved back to that left wing position where he made his NRL debut and had that breakout season last year. Do you think it's a big risk bringing a guy like Bostock in for his first Origin game in a decider? Would you have had Brian Toto there? You obviously, spoke about Brian Toto maybe missing out last week.
Yeah, I thought Toto unfortunately got found out and his game one wasn't the best also. So I think he sort of played himself out of the team in regards to his form at that level. And some other guys, Bostock as an example, has played himself into the team due to the form he's carried even before the start of the Origin series. So I can see how that was a straight swap and understand it. I think it's a great challenge for him. I think, yes, he will be under immense pressure going onto the wing in a decider up in Queensland, but I think he's actually built himself into a rep player the past 6 to 8 weeks, and now he gets to wear the blue jersey, and I think it's an opportunity for him to stake his claim to also be there and involved next year, depending on injuries and suspensions around that time for himself. But it's a massive opportunity. It also sets him up for the World Cup at the end of the year. So he's now an Origin player, and I really hope he does really well.
Same here. I think he'll do very well. He's one of my favourite players to watch week to week. It sucks for the Supercoach too. I'm going to have to trade him out for my Supercoach side this week, but that's all good. Very happy for him in this opportunity. I think that he is going to kill it for New South Wales, and I think just in the air, it's a lot more security. I feel a lot more safe in those aerial contests. Brian Toto obviously got found out a couple of times against Jojo Fafita in Game 2 when it came to those in-air contests, so having a guy like Bostock, who is that bigger body there, can get up in the air for those contests and go after a guy like Jojo Fafita and win a lot of those battles. I do feel a lot safer as a New South Wales fan. Bradman Best, the Game 3 specialist, talk to me about Bradman Best. We talked about, if one centre was going to be dropped, it was probably going to be potentially, I said Stags. We had that discussion last week in regards to the centres. Both centres have been dropped. Stags completely out of the side and Cooler obviously to the bench. Talk to me about Bradman Best coming in and what he provides.
Mate, he provides, obviously, I suppose he's a bit of a different X factor. Like he's performed in these big games before. I just thought, what is he, 2 games back from injury? And I just thought he was maybe a little bit underdone. And I thought Stags had done enough truly, even though they had lost last game and he wasn't at his best. I just thought that if Katoni Stags could get, this third game at Suncorp, he could rectify some of the stuff that he done in Game 2. I would have held on to Katoni Stags, and I'm probably a bit biased if I'm being totally honest. I got a big rap on him. That's why I probably didn't want him out of the team. But in saying that, it's a very strong centre pairing in Crichton and Best. And I'm looking forward to see how both of them pan up, because the two centres have in the Queensland team have been together for the whole series, and they're firing.
Talk to me about Stephen Crichton. Obviously comes back into the side after not featuring in Game 2. But the thing that I'm a little bit interested to see play out is he hasn't played right side, I don't think, this year. I think he's played only 2 games right side centre. He's played majority of the games this year on the left, and he's playing 5'8" at the moment at Clubland. Is there a little bit of a concern defensively there for Critter, or you think Game 3, big game specialist, is going to turn up for it?
Yeah, for me, he's just a footy player. And as you said, he played 6 on the weekend and went really well. So you could almost put him anywhere in the back line. He's going to get a job done for you. The injury that he still has is a concern, but I think they'll needle it up. Training and getting the Ks into his legs and the reps in the defense and attacking structures over the next week, I would imagine he'd want to get as much as that in possible, and I think it's very important he does. But as I was stating before, he's a big game player. He can pretty much go anywhere in the back line and do a job for you. And I think he's one of these guys that's probably taken it personal in regards to game two. They said he ruled himself out, but that's what was said. So I think he might have a bit of a point to prove, and there's nothing more dangerous than a high end rugby league player with something to prove.
Talk to me about Moses. Obviously, you had him in your side for the decider.
Yep.
But after the game on the weekend against the Bunnies on Thursday, were you having doubts that he'd be selected, or were you pretty confident that even though he had that rough game on Thursday, that he'd be in the side for the decider?
I'll be honest, I thought he played himself out of the jersey. I didn't think they were going to pick him, but I did want him in game three. Now, the reason why is they have an opportunity to win it, right? So I think I'm big on sticking with certain things, right? I like having conversations around sticking with people. If these two, and this is Cleary included, if they don't win this series, I think it raises a lot of questions who the 6 and 7 are for next year. I think if they go up and win, they'll be the first two choices, again, depending on suspension and injuries next year. But I think this is a big fork in the road for these two to go up to Suncorp, win the decider, or if they lose it, I think there might be a question mark over their positions next year within the Origin team. And just to clarify, I'm a fucking huge Nathan Cleary fan, but I think it's at that stage now when people can start to maybe, is it time for Katoa to come in as an example?
Take form out of the question. Let's say that they lose game 3 and it's next year and you're picking between one of these guys as your 7. Who is more likely to be the 7 if they lose this game for next year? What do you reckon?
It's a vast answer for this question because you always got to go, where's the team sitting next year? Who's playing well? Do they, have they earned the jersey? Are they in enough form to build the team around him? And there's many other factors too. I think the coaching could have been better this series so far also to, I suppose, play to the 6 and 7 strengths that they do possess. Maybe that happens in game 3. But I think if they lose, there's a big question mark over both of them. And I think Katoa has the potential, if he is fully fit, to put himself in that 6 or 7 jersey for New South Wales.
It's probably going to be a new coach next year as well for New South Wales. Laurie Daly has stated that he won't be coaching on next year for New South Wales. If we lose this game, are you going to completely blow it up and go like Katoa and Strange for next year? What's your thoughts there?
I think there's some blokes that are always a shoo-in, like your Husses. Or are you just specifically talking about the halves?
I'm talking specifically about the halves. If we lose this game, is it something where you just completely blow it up and you go for the next generation? Or are you happy to stick with one of these halfbacks? Would you stick with one of these halfbacks?
I think it's open slather, and I think it depends who the coach is. Now, the coach might come in and go, mate, Cleary's going to be there. We need to find a 6. And that's understandable too, might I add. That's very understandable. I think Moses's position's in more question than what Nathan's is. But if they do lose and, depending on who gets the coaching position, because I only imagine it's going to be for a year, I really do think Ivan Cleary may get the job following his resignation at Penrith. So it's going to be interesting to see, who the coach will be and what type of style he wants to play. But I wouldn't be surprised if like a Katoa and Cleary sort of halves partnership came into play, or even, depending on how Nathan's going, if Katoa takes the 7 and, like you said, Ethan Strange goes straight into the 6.
Mate, to be honest, I'd be moving as far away from this double halfback play as possible. I'd be going with Ethan Strange as the 5'8". I would have had him in there for this game. I just don't think that Moses and Cleary gel well. I just don't think we've seen the best of these halves, so far as a combination. I'd be going with Cleary and Strange moving forward. I think that those guys would be the guys moving forward if we do lose this game. I think Katoa's definitely a chance pending injuries and whatnot for next year. But yeah, look, I think people got to remember as well, like Moses has been injured.
Oh, yeah.
He's been pretty heavily injured and not very match fit coming into this side as well. I think Laurie's picked him off the back of the fact that he's won in at Suncorp. He's done a lot of good service for New South Wales over the last 2 to 3 seasons that he's played in the jersey.
Yep.
But I just don't know if Moses and Cleary is the answer. I think that you've got to stick with one and then find a natural 5'8". For me, that is going to be Ethan Strange going into the future. He's 21 years of age. You're going to get another 10 or 15 years out of Ethan Strange in Sky Blue. So that's the way that I would be going. I want to talk to you about the bench rotation. Do you feel like looking at this bench and what we've talked about with Ola Kawatu, is this the clearest bench in regards to a game plan that New South Wales have had so far this series, considering that we've obviously seen 2 games play out in game 1 and game 2, and we know, I guess, what Laurie's thinking in regards to how he wants to use his bench. Looking at this bench right now, is this the clearest cut bench in regards to having a plan for how these guys get onto the field that we've had so far in this series?
Mate, I don't like the bench, but and I'm not saying that I don't like the players on the bench. 2 of them, probably 3 of them, in my opinion, I'd have in the starting team, and I've said it from the start. I'd have Payne Haas and Adam Fanua-Blake starting. I'd have Ulukuwatu on the edge, and by looking at it and what everyone else is saying also, I like Murray starting. Now, and I think Liam Martin and Mitch Barnett bring different dynamics from the bench than what these guys do in regards to Fanua-Blake and Ulukuwatu. You can play Martin in the middle, no dramas. I don't think Ulukuwatu's a middle player. I think he's an out-and-out right-back rower. I think that's where his best value is. I think that's where he's going to give the most to the team. Adam Fanua-Blake and Payne Haas, that's the best 1-2 combination, in my opinion, in rugby league and front rowers. Yet we want to start Adam Fanua from the bench. I don't understand. I don't know. I'm looking at the bench and I'm not really seeing how they're going to use Ulukuwatu unless there's an injury in the back row. Now, you've stated Liam Martin's going to do all this moving around and stuff like that. Just to rectify that, start Ulukuwatu and have Martin coming off the bench if your role is going to be pretty much for him to play in the middle, because I think he's going to give you more than what Ulukuwatu is off the bench.
I understand what you're saying. I just don't think that Ola Kawatu is good playing 80 minutes in Origin. Like, I think we saw that in game 1 where I probably wouldn't have Ola Kawatu playing the full 80 in State of Origin footy. He can do it at Clubland and he can do it well at Clubland, but Origin's a different beast. The intensity is a lot higher. I just feel like Ola Kawatu, playing the back end of the game, coming on there in the back row, destructive, and then Liam Martin moving into the middle, I think it is dangerous. I think it can work. So I'm keen to see, I guess, what the plan is. I agree. I think that Murray should be starting. I think he should be starting. I think Yowie should be either in the front row or on the bench. I think that we've seen enough of a sample size now where this should just be a straight swap. It should have already happened by now, and we're still sitting here. It hasn't happened. Talk to me about, I guess, the utility. What are we thinking in regards to who gets on the field for New South Wales? I'm sort of thinking Murray definitely gets on. I'm thinking Kamole will get on. I think Blake Brayley will get onto the field, even though they didn't use Appy in game 2. I think that Blake Brayley will get on. I think it'll be between Ethan Strange and Adam Fanua-Blake for that last role, and I think we won't know until the last 20 minutes of the game. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, it's a strange one. I'm not really sure. I don't have a lot of confidence in the way that he's done things in regards to Laura Daly. I see if you want a little bit of creativity at some stage around that middle ruck when it is a little bit tired, you think Brayley could do that. But in saying that, you look at it, Ethan Strange has the potential to do that also from a 9 position. So it depends with what you want to go with. And even that too, Brayley hasn't played for Cronulla the last 2 or 3 weeks since he broke his wrist or something, wasn't it?
He has not.
I don't think he played
he's played 2. Yeah, he's been back. He's been back.
So like, is that a little bit of a spot in defense? Like let's really test him out. Let's put him in there and really see how it is feeling, because it's a different, like we always talk about it, it's a different beast, mate. When Tino coming at you, they've got big bodies all over the park. As soon as they find him, I think they're going to really test out Brayley and see actually how it is going for him. Is that a spot for them?
I don't think it is. I think that he's just a bit of an animal, Blake Brayley. I think he's just going to be good to go. He's going to come out and come out firing. I think Ethan Strange, I definitely wouldn't be playing at 9. I think that completely defeats the purpose of the impact that he can bring, especially just roaming both sides of the ruck, being in the middle and being a bit of a first receiver. In saying that, we've got Murray. You know, we'll have Liam Martin as that smaller body coming on through the middle as well. So it'll be interesting to see the workings of this bench, how different players are used at what time. I'd be really disappointed if Adam Fanor-Blake plays 10 minutes again, unless Ethan Strange gets onto the field. Then I can understand it. But you've got, as you said, you've got one of the best front rowers in the game when he's on the bench. Like, it feels weird not to use him, if that makes sense.
I totally agree with you. Do you think they have doubt in this guy, in Laurie Daly? Because I vividly remember Adam Fanua-Blake coming off the field in game 2, and they shot to him walking to the bench, and the trainer said to him, it looked like he said, sorry, mate, had to come off or whatever. And he's like, he was just shaking his head. He's like, and you could read his lips. He's like, I'm sweet, and just sat down. And I just thought, he's filthy. Like, you know what I mean? Top 3 back row in the world gets 7 minutes. You know, like, regardless of what's happening in the game, he should have been on the field in the first half, in my opinion.
Yeah, well, look, as I said, it will be interesting to see, I guess, if this bench is used any differently to what we've seen in the first 2 games. Obviously, Jacob Saifidi didn't get onto the field in game 1. Adam Fanua-Blake only got 10 minutes in game 2. Let's go to the Pooh State in Queensland. Pretty much the same team, but some big changes. A guy I definitely didn't expect to be seeing back in this team is Paddy Carrigan, but he's been named in jersey 15. Hasn't even come back for the Broncos yet. He's got a syndesmosis injury. Usually that is 8 to 12 weeks. I think he's only been out for 4, and he's already back named in this team list. I think that's a massive, massive call. Be interesting to see if he does get onto the field. They've also named Jeremiah Nanai over Kulakefu Finafuiaki, who's dropped out of the team, and Helam Lukey drops out of the squad for Corey Horsburgh. So a couple of changes there for Queensland. What are your immediate reactions to Paddy Carrigan being back? Do you think he'll play, or do you think it's a bit of a mind games thing from Billy and he gets ruled out late for the Corey Horsburgh?
I don't. That's definitely something that could happen, because I've done syndesmosis and they feel like dog shit. And if they've said he was supposed to be out for 8 weeks and he's come back after 4, it made him be feeling like a rusty gate. He will struggle to get around unless they needle up and strap the shit out of it. And if it's actually way ahead of what they first thought, so I don't doubt that could possibly happen. And Corey Horsburgh, he played himself into the team, I think, the last couple of weeks. And Nanai actually, that hit he put off on the kickoff on Leota on the weekend against Penrith, that tackle alone, I think, put his name straight back into contention to be a part of this team, because you want to talk about laying a platform, he did it with the first tackle of the game.
Yeah, he was outstanding on the weekend. We'll get to that game, obviously, a little bit later on. But Nanai is a great inclusion. Where he comes in off the bench will be interesting, whether he just slots into the back row for maybe Nikora. I imagine will be the change there. I do like him better on the left side, though. I feel like he's played his best footy in his career, even at Clubland on the left. So it will be interesting to see, I guess, what the plan is for Nanai, if he does play left or right. I think if he does play right, he is a bit of a spot there on that right-hand side. Defensively, playing right side, he has leaked the most amount of tries in his career. So we'll be interested to see, I guess, where he gets on. The more interesting one, I think, will be, as I said, Paddy Carrigan, what the situation is with him if he does end up playing in this game. I'll take you down a little bit of a memory lane for myself, and it just speaks to how stubborn I used to be playing footy. I did my syndesmosis in a school grand final. Didn't know I had done it. I thought I just rolled my ankle. Ended up coming off in that game and had club footy on the weekend. I think I played about 4 weeks, and I couldn't run, couldn't get into full sprint. It was super painful, but kept strapping it up, bit of deep heat, and I was out there. Yeah, I know. Anyway, just got to the point where every time I rolled it, it felt like it just would tear, or it felt really uncomfortable. And I was like, I've definitely done something here. Go for a scan, 9 centimeter tear straight through the middle of my syndesmosis, 10 to 12 weeks. So they are the most annoying injury, especially coming back from a syndesmosis. Yep. You feel sweet. You take the moon boot off and you go to run, and then you just do it all over again. So it is a painful injury to sort of come back from. And yeah, it'll be interesting to see if Paddy Carrigan. I feel like this is a bit of mind games. This is Billy Slater, Bush Poet mind games here. Paddy Carrigan named. Is he going to play? Got a sort of game plan for him, and then all of a sudden Corey Horsburgh comes into the team list before kickoff is the sort of vibe that I'm getting here for Queensland. I think the big watch will be if they do bring any youngsters into camp as well, because those guys could be named in jersey 20 and Paddy Carrigan could just drop out later in the week. Super big watch there. But everything else is pretty much the same for Queensland. Not too much else to talk about. Cobbo had a sensational game on the weekend. We'll talk about that when we talk about the footy a little bit later on. Anything else for Queensland, mate, that you want to touch on?
I think with the Carrigan situation, I think we'll probably know more earlier in the week than later, because if he's not actually out there training, that's a bit of a tell sign. Whether the media leaks that or not, we'll find out. But if he's not, on his feet and out on the field training with the team, the first two, anywhere from the first session to the fourth, you think that Horsburgh will probably get those reps in, and they'll look to bring a bloke in into that 20 jersey.
Well, it's funny, like with Moses, he's like the first time he had kicked a ball was on the Monday before the game.
Yeah,
and that was
his
first.
It's not ideal for the poor bastards.
Yeah, that was his first opposed session as well. So they could really stretch this out, which will be very interesting to see how that sort of works. Do you reckon there's a chance maybe Reece Walsh gets onto the field and they don't use Paddy Carrigan?
I'll tell you what, I was very surprised he didn't get on in game 2. I was waiting for him to get on there. Billy had other ideas, and the team was flying, so there was no reason to put Reece out there. It could be something that is in their back pocket. I think it's hard to tell. I think Reece Walsh is sort of that card where they put him out there when they feel, I suppose, and it's very easy to say, when he's needed. He wasn't really. Do you think I don't reckon he really was needed in game 2. I thought they were going along very smoothly. The outside backs were doing their jobs. It looked like Queensland had momentum for most of the game, so there wasn't really need for them to fire a bullet. This game could obviously be different, and they can chuck him out there at stages if it's a bit of an arm wrestle and they feel like they're losing a little bit of momentum. So it's going to be interesting if Reece Walsh even gets used. But I hope he gets on the field, because he's a star.
You got to remember, obviously when Staggs went to the bin, Ponga was supposed to come off for a HIA. Crazy that he didn't. But Walsh was up and ready to go to come on for Ponga. Yeah. And then Billy Slater tells him to put the headset on and tells him to go sit down and and stop getting ready. So, look, we'll have to wait and see. I actually think that that's probably a likely option there, where Paddy Carrigan's named in jersey 15. They name him for kickoff. He sits on the bench. Everyone thinks there's a chance he comes on, and then they throw Reece Walsh out there at lock, and he just goes bananas. So
there's a lot of avenues to go down.
We'll talk about it more, obviously, next week when we get stuck into the preview. But let's get stuck into the footy over the weekend, mate. Actually, just quickly first, touch on a bit of news. Bronson Xerri. There's been a lot of chat around him over the last couple of weeks, just in regards to if he's going to get an early release and whatnot. But apparently he's signed with Melbourne on a 3-year deal from next season. Yeah. Talk to me about what Bronson Xerri brings to the Melbourne Storm. I think it's a perfect signing.
Oh, mate, I reckon he'll put himself in Origin contention being down there in that system. I had a feeling he wasn't going to see out his contract after the little bit of turmoil that happened at the start of the year. I think his manager and the club sort of said, mate, just get him to sit tight towards the end of the year, and we'll look to get him somewhere else if he really doesn't want to be here. And mate, the Bulldogs, it's a bit of a shambles at the moment. But anyway, they're talking about possibly getting him, which I think would be massive for Melbourne before June 30. The Bulldogs have come out and stated they won't be releasing him. If you're not playing him, let him go. If you're not going to play Bronson Xerri starting in the centres, you've moved Burton to the centre to accommodate Crichton at 6, and you're still doing all these things, and you've got a bloke who's on 500 or 600 grand sitting on the bench, let him go. You've obviously got I'm assuming they've probably got a talented youngster they could probably bring up to get the experience on sitting on the bench and doing the warm-ups and training with the team in the week that they can get there instead of Bronson Cherry. And I think it'd be a massive in for Melbourne if he can get down there before June 30. But great signing.
You know what was pretty telling for me in that there probably might be a move made maybe tomorrow. Tomorrow obviously is June 30 when this podcast comes out. Is that when he came on for the Bulldogs over the weekend, they put him on the wing and they left Naruchuala in the centres.
Yeah. That's what I mean. Like it's just if you're not going to use him properly, just let him go.
Yeah. I think that they will. They've got that young Jonathan Sewer who comes in and goes all right. Jethro Rinakama obviously has been in there the last 2 weeks and he's gone really well. So they've definitely got players to accommodate. They've still got Marcelo Montoya at the club too, so they can use him in those positions as well. And then Gemat Shibasaki, bit of chat around him and transfer whispers. It sounds like he's signed with the Perth Bears. Obviously during the cool down period. Talk to me about that pickup for Perth. Is it a good signing for Perth, and what does a guy like Gemat Shibasaki offer?
I reckon it's a massive signing for them. He's probably at the moment, if I think about it, he's probably their marquee signing because he coming off Origin last year, went on the Test tour last year. He's in a bit of a holding pattern, I'd probably say at the moment. It looks like he's not playing as confident as he did last year. So it's going to be interesting to see how he does go when he's over there. But he's a very talented player, obviously Origin and Australia caliber player. So I think it's a big signing for them, and I hope he can get over there and really get the Perth Bears going.
Yep, same here. Look, I think it is going to be very interesting to see how he does play over there. At Perth, if he is that marquee dude, they chuck him in the centres. He's their centrepiece of attack on that left edge, what that looks like for them, because it'd be interesting to see, I guess, the next couple of players that they are able to sign. It doesn't look like they're going to be able to sign a lot of key players for that first year. We'll have to wait and see. The last one, mate, Dane Gagai, going to the Broncos.
What a signing.
Mate, it's funny, I had in the notes last week after the game that he played that he could play on for another 2 or 3 seasons if he really wanted to, even though he's obviously getting there in age. He's been playing really, really good footy, and the way that he just sets up his winger, he's one of the best to do it in regards to centres. I think he's the most capped centre after the weekend as well. He obviously going to the Broncos where he started out, played Toyota Cup for Brisbane and a couple of NRL games before going to Newcastle initially. It's a big signing. I think that he will do very well there. Be interesting to see what side of the field he plays on and what that looks like if they move Staggs over for him to play right side or if he does play left alongside Karapani. But talk to me about Dane and what he brings.
Mate, what a signing. I was hoping the Dragons were going to try and get him. Just professionalism. Like, if you're, what's he, 34, 35 now? If you can still look as fit as he's is looking and playing as well as he is, he's obviously got a high level of professionalism. I think he'll bring confidence, and I think he's just going to bring a lot of experience to the younger outside backs that are involved with the Broncos. I wouldn't be surprised if he got another year after it, depending how well he's playing and how fit he is. So I'm stoked for him. I think that's a massive buy.
Yeah, 35 years of age, Dane Gagai. I think it's a really, really good purchase. Obviously, Newcastle, they've got the young kid, Toby Winter, who they've been really wanting to bring through. He played under-19s Origin a week or so ago at fullback. He is more of a fullback, but they reckon he's just a big body. He'll be able to make the transition into centre. They've got a couple of fullbacks at the club already, and your Fletcher Hunts. Fletcher Sharp's pretty much a fullback. You got KP that's re-signed long-term. So they've got enough depth there at fullback. So Toby Winter, they're moving into the centres. He's a very, very good junior. Definitely one to keep an eye on moving forward. But yeah, Dane Gagai for Brisbane, big signing.
Massive.
Especially if he's on the left edge with Karapani. I think that could be a really dangerous combination, especially with, he's been next to Dominic Young again after coming back from the Roosters, Dom Young. And Dom Young's had his best season of his career.
Yeah.
So it just tells the sort of impact that Dane Gagai can have on his winger, and really good pickup for the Brisbane Broncos. Let's get stuck into the footy, mate. My Bunnies getting the job done over the Parramatta Eels, 32-12, the final scoreline in this one. Parramatta defensively, I want you to talk to me about the 3-man defence of Parramatta, what your observations have been, because it feels like no matter who they've had on either side of the field in that 3-man position, they've really struggled.
Yeah, it didn't look like Parramatta have really turned up in certain areas. They were off. But I think Cody Walker put on an absolute clinic. I think he had a lot of them guessing out there, which opened up the gaps for him and also the people on the outside of him. I thought it was a real, bringing Parramatta back down to earth, because I thought they were on the way up after watching them probably the last 3 or 4 weeks. They had one good win, a couple of good wins. Volkman's been playing really well for them. It just looked like they didn't come out full of beans, and then the Rabbitohs just took full advantage of it. And I thought the Rabbitohs played really well.
Yeah, I agree on Cody Walker. He is a bit of a magician, and if there's anyone that's going to exploit weaknesses and defenses, it's definitely Cody Walker. Talk to me like, let's just say you're a half, obviously, coming into this game. Watching Volkman the last couple of weeks and just being a little bit of a spot in defense for a couple of other teams, you'd think the game plan would be to spot up Volkman, right? I reckon they made a point of going, they're going to expect us to target Volkman, especially having Dave Fafita on that right edge.
Yeah.
We're going to go the other way. We're going to go with Cody Walker, and Cody Walker is just going to go at Moses all day, knowing Moses isn't very match fit. First game back for Parramatta in 2.5 months. And they tore Moses to absolute shreds there on that edge. Caught him out a couple of times where he sort of turned his shoulders in, and Cody Walker got the best of him there.
Yeah, he made some ordinary body positioning movements, Mitch. I think it was a tough game for him, especially being his 250th. You thought that they would turn up with a little bit more energy for him, and he's coming a bit underdone, but like I like to think that Cody Walker just come out and just had a lot of shape running around him. He was nervous. Mitch was always looking sort of to the outside, and probably expected his 4 men to work a little bit harder for him on the inside, if I'm being honest also. But he did get himself a little bit ahead of the line sometimes, shoulders turning out, not committing to the tackle, and they rectified that gap there between 3 and 4 on that side of the field a couple times. So it was a hard watch at sometimes for Para. Apparently Jason Riles went bananas after the game, which deservingly so. So I've got no doubt they'll have a big week of training, and we may see a new Parramatta team come out full of beans this weekend.
Do you see what Rolsey's quote was after the game?
I did, but I cannot remember it. It was very direct.
Yeah, he said that a park footy team could beat them. Yeah. Kelma Tuolungi, 8 missed tackles, and Moses obviously 5 in this game. So plenty of opportunities there. Moses just had a pretty off night too, like 4 errors, 4 handling errors.
Yeah.
Obviously the defense as well. You said that he'd probably have played himself out of that New South Wales jersey, or you thought he would have at that stage after the game. I think, though, after that sort of game, Moses is the sort of player that will use that as a bit of fuel. Everyone's sort of doubting him at the moment. I think he's going to go into camp, and he might actually come out with a pretty solid Origin performance off the back of this.
And just the competitor in him. I've got no doubt he holds himself to the highest standard. I don't think he'd be overly thrilled with the performance he put in that game. So I've got no doubt he's going to be knuckling down this week to rectify that, and then put himself into a good position to help New South Wales win, and then get back to Parramatta and try and steer the ship for them.
Talk to me about Tallis Duncan for the South Sydney Rabbitohs, obviously playing in the centres at the moment. How close would you have had him to playing State of Origin this year?
He would have been thereabouts. There's a lot of good players, in the bucket that he would have been in, but he definitely put his hand up, especially playing out of position. But that's also the Wayne Bennett effect. I think he's just simplified it for him, mate. I don't know if you remember back in the day, Matt Pryor's a front rower. He was playing centre for the Dragons at one stage and carving. That's the effect Wayne can have on these blokes in regards to, if he needs to play him out of position, just simplifying it and allowing them to go out there and use their natural ability. Like, Duncan looks like a bloke who's played 100 games in the centre at the moment. Like, it's out of control. He is a very good edge player, so I've got no doubt he's been able just to slide in that position very comfortably. But, centre and back row, they are 2 different positions, and he's doing really well.
Yeah, he's killing it at the moment. Tallis Duncan playing some really good footy. And even when he's been in the back row this year, he's had some really awesome performances. So great form, Tallis Duncan. And then the other centre as well, like Latrell Seagull. I've been super impressed with him over the last couple of weeks too. Obviously, Moses, he's going to be out for the next couple of weeks with a calf injury now as well. Talk to me about Trell Seagull and what you've liked from him, the youngster.
Yeah, he's got he's got a fair bit of talent, doesn't he? You can see when he moves with the ball. He's got that nice, that first 4 meters, he glides across the ground. So he's someone that I think they've been waiting to give, or maybe, give a solid opportunity where he can get 10 to 12 games under his belt consistently, and he has that now. And I think it's only going to be better for the Rabbitohs as much as him being out on the field.
Early tip: the Rabbitohs will play an understrength Penrith team this week. What are your thoughts on that game? Do you reckon the Rabbitohs might be able to take the jump on them?
100%. With the way they've been playing, they're full of confidence. I wouldn't say why not. Cody Walker's putting in a clinic on the last couple of weeks, especially against Parra on the weekend. It will. Is he one that is going to play, or are you saying he's not going to play?
Who's this, Cody?
Cody, yeah. You said an understrength Rabbitohs team.
No, understrength Panthers team, sorry.
Oh, understrength Panthers, sorry. Oh, yeah, I got no doubt they have the ability to go out there and beat a Panthers team that's got some of their Origin players out.
Let's get to the next game. The Doggies getting the job done over the Gold Coast Titans, 30 points to 12. I'll tell you what, the Titans were pretty resilient in this one.
Yeah.
But I think the Dogs just showed up, particularly their offloads in and around the middle of the field. And when Kurt Mann got on, I thought it was a real difference for the Doggies. What were your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, 100%. The Dogs look mate, foot in my mouth, they look really good with Crichton at 6 and Burton in the centres. So, like I'm saying, they're doing a lot of chopper changing, which they are. But what they did on the weekend with that move, I thought looked really well for them. So I wouldn't be surprised if they continued with that moving forward. I thought there, as you said, the second phase play sort of killed them a bit, but there was patches of the game where it was better off watching paint dry. Due to the weather, it was pissing down up there, but the Bulldogs got away with a very good win in the end.
Talk to me about Critter in the halves, because for me, watching the game, It feels like Critter's actually playing 7 and Galvin is now moving into that 6, and there's a bit of pressure taken off him. Do you sort of agree?
Yeah, it looked like they were playing a little bit differently than what they had been used to. In saying that too, not to put a knock on the Titans, against a full strength, let's say a Melbourne, Brisbane, Roosters or Penrith, I think Crichton plays a little bit differently in regards to not having as much time to be able to do what he did. But in the situation that they were in, they did well with what they had, and the combination did look really good.
Is it something that you're going to stick with for the rest of the year for the Dogs?
I wouldn't. No. I could see him doing it, but I'm not trying. I still can't understand what they're trying to do there. In saying Burton played well in the centres, I still see him as a better 6. Crichton playing 6 caught me off guard, even though I see him being a better centre. So, mate, to be honest, I got no idea what they're doing there, but on the weekend it worked for them, and it'll be interesting to see how it works moving forward.
It will be very interesting to see what they decide to do there with Burton, obviously, if they're going to re-sign him or not. It feels a bit strange too, like obviously Critter going into the number 6. They've got that young Alex Conti there. As well, the young halfback who's playing outstanding. I think the Bulldogs had another big game in New South Wales Cup, if I recall. I think they put 60 points on their opposition. Let me have a quick look at Cup. Bear with me. 64-10 over the Manly Seagulls on the weekend. So the Bulldogs have been in some pretty solid form. Alex Conti, I think, scored 3 tries in that game too. So he is killing it. Sean O'Sullivan was his other half. They've got him too. That's ready to go. It is a big call when you've got these guys in the side and available to go with a Critter. But I also think that what Critter's been able to do in regards to freeing up both, Burton obviously going into the centres and doing what he's doing, having a bit less pressure on him to be a half, kicking and all that sort of stuff. He can just focus on his running game. But the pressure it's taking off Galvin, I think it's a really good option for them. If they do decide to go with it for the rest of the year, obviously the big test is going to be, as you said, against those top sides. Would you agree?
Yeah, 100%. The sides that can apply a good amount of pressure to them consistently over a large period of the game, we'll see how strong they are on the halves, or how strong that combination is, sorry.
Chookies and the Broncos, 24-18, the final scoreline in this one. Pretty entertaining game on your Friday night. Talk to me about the Broncos. I thought it was a pretty resilient performance from them defensively in that second half, because I think the Roosters were pretty dominant, and the scoreline doesn't really show that, really.
Yeah, it doesn't. The Bronx are fighting hard for a win that just hasn't swung their way at the moment. It's going to be a big back end of the year for them. They're applying a lot of pressure themselves to, possibly not make the 8 due to them not winning, having that large patch in the middle of the year where they lost about 5 or 6 in a row, including on the weekend now. So it's going to be.
I think they've got to win every game.
Yeah, there was some silly stat that I seen, some ridiculous stat that they need to win all their games or they can only drop one more depending on how the other teams go also. So they're applying a lot of pressure to themselves, but can they do it? Yeah, they have the firepower to do it. Whether or not they can do that over 8 or 9 weeks after Origin series is another thing. But it's going to be interesting to see what happens for them. In saying that too, the Roosters look very good. They look very good.
What will be, next week for the Broncos is going to be very interesting because they've got no Walsh.
Yep.
They'll have no Mam or Renault. They've got no Payne Haas.
Yep.
They'll still be without Paddy Carrigan. Xavier Willison is out due to the HIA protocols. So they are going to be very depleted. It's almost going to be their cup team running out there. The only reprieve that they get is through Tony Staggs, who obviously didn't get picked for New South Wales.
Yep.
It's going to be very interesting to see what they can do here. I think the Origin period might be their nail in the coffin. I guess if they'll probably drop next week. Chookies, talk to me about what you're liking from their footy at the moment and how much do you think the Origin period has had an impact on Sam Walker's role as a halfback moving forward?
Well, I just think Sam Walker looks like he's gone up 2, 3, 4 levels when he's gone back to clubland. And I think, I'd like to talk about Daly Cherry Evans. I think he's added to that. I think they've found the balance now. I think maybe Daly, looking at it, only from my view, fully trusts him to do whatever he wants, I suppose, in the team. I thought at times Daly probably was showing due to him, wanting the ball a little bit much that maybe he was not trusting fully what Sam was trying to do and thought he needed to take a bit of the rein. But I think Sam Walker's really in a really healthy purple patch of form at the moment through Origin and now coming back to the Roosters. But I think Daly Cherry Evans has been really good for Sam Walker since maybe 10 weeks ago in regards to just allowing him probably to be himself a little bit more on the field. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I think so. But I think just being an Origin camp, having to be the out-and-out 7 in that side and just being guided by a really strong camp. Jonathan Thurston's in there. Yep. He'd have a huge influence on Sammy Walker, particularly because, Thurston was quite versatile between 6 and 7.
Yeah.
So I think Thurston would almost be one of the perfect guys to sort of be in and around Sam Walker during this stage of his career, this early stage of his career.
Yeah.
I think DCE, as you said, has definitely had an impact on him because DCE is a veteran, premiership winning halfback. Would definitely have a lot of impact on Sammy. But I just feel like being in the shift between pre-Origin versus post-Origin in regards to Sam Walker as a number 7 compared to Sam Walker is a 7, named at 7, but I think would be better as a 6. I feel like that for me has shifted a little bit since Origin camp. Would you sort of agree?
Yeah, it's almost chalk and cheese. He's a completely different player in my opinion. As I stated before, I think he's gone up a couple of levels with his footy, and he's going to be massive for the Roosters come the back end of the year.
Let's talk about the game of the round here. The Dolphins and the Warriors. Outstanding game of footy. I think that the Warriors were very strong. I think a couple of errors late hurt them, but mate, it could have gone either way at the back end of that game. And Selwyn Cobbo just goes, nope. You want to try and win this game? I'm going to score a try in the last minute to shut the gate. Talk to me about this one. What did you like from either side?
Mate, just open flow footy. They moved the ball so well. Credit to the Dolphins. Katoa went off really early. He's broken his wrist apparently or his hand, so they're going to be without him for a couple of weeks. And to just continue on without him out there is a massive thing for them because, as I stated, he's out for a couple of weeks now and they'll get a lot of confidence from that. I want to put this to you. Do you reckon they've got the best back 5 in the competition in form?
Oh, yeah.
It's big, man. Like the Hammer, Cobbo, Farnworth, Bostock, Jermaine Asako. Like they're very hot at the moment and they're all playing with a lot of confidence in the centre and wing pairings, man. They're like their best mates. They are just playing so well together.
And the depth that they've got in the back line as well. Like they've got Avarillo to come back. They've got that young Tavita Nafahu who played last week and killed it.
Yep, he's on the wing,
They've got some sensational depth in regards to young talent coming through as well. So, the Dolphins definitely the best back line, I'd say, for sure, in form in the competition. And, Jermaine Asako, top point scorer again. I think that was a crazy stat with Asako that it's the first time a player has scored over 12 points in 9 consecutive games in the NRL. He's an absolute beast. Bostock killed it this week. Thought he was really, really strong, especially coming out of his own end on those play 2 and 3 carries. But a couple of silky try assists down that left-hand side as well. Cobbo just goes, I'm going to put this game on my shoulders and score the game-winning try in the last couple of minutes there. Talk to me about Selwyn Cobbo, mate. We sort of spoke about him last week a little bit, but just to, playing reserve grade for the Brisbane Broncos at the back end of last year, comes to the Dolphins and his footy's turned around. I think the key thing for me, and I saw this comment on, I think it was one of the news pages, is just the fact that he's fit. Like he looks really fit. Not getting overly fatigued later in games and just staying in the game for the entire contest. Big work rate. Talk to me about what you've been impressed with Cobbo coming to the Dolphins.
Yeah, I watched it from the opening rounds. He was just getting the ball out of yardage, taking the hard carries. Obviously Christian Wolf has provided an environment for him to thrive, and he's paying it back with how he's playing his rugby league. I think we've got to give Christian Wolf a massive rap. To get Selwyn Cobbo to where he is now compared to where he was last year, I think that comes down to a large part of his coach getting him into the right mind frame, and obviously himself getting extremely fit. Every team trains very, very hard over the preseason, but with Selwyn individually, it looks like they've got him in, had a chat to him around how they want him to go about his business. He's bought into it. They've let him go, and all of a sudden he's put himself back into the Origin team. And I wouldn't be surprised if he got picked for Australia at the end of the year. There's nothing better than seeing a happy footballer, mate. And certainly Selwyn Cobbo he's reached his heights when he got to represent the Green and Gold a couple of years ago.
I want to ask you 2 questions about the Dolphins. First one, is Christian Wolf the coach of the year right now?
If they remain in the top 4, you'd think he would be. I think he's. They didn't make the finals last year, and they're already talking about them, potentially being the team one of the teams that play in the grand final, barring injuries and suspensions. So he's definitely in contention. Yes.
And the second question, which you sort of segued into it there, could they beat Penrith in a grand final tomorrow?
Both at full strength?
At full strength.
No.
What's holding them back, do you reckon?
I don't think it's them holding him back. I just think it's the Penrith well-oiled machine. Big games, big game players. If they were both at full strength and all their team was playing 9 out of 10s, I still think Penrith knock them over.
What's something that they could either add to their game that you reckon would put them at the same level as Penrith?
I don't know if it's adding to their Penrith are in a different kettle of fish, mate, when all their players are healthy. They are a different team when everyone's out on the field and they're in the groove. It's not that I think they need to add something. I just think it's Penrith are just too good. They're if you're saying Penrith at full strength against any team in the competition, I think almost 10 out of 10 times people are going to take Penrith just with what they've done. You have to look at what Penrith have done over the last 6-7 years. They've lost a whole team of genuine first graders and rep players to other teams and are still winning. They're in contention again this year. With if you look at it compared to where the team was maybe 2-3 years ago, it may be looking like a lesser team, but everyone just knows their role so well. They just go out on the field and blow teams off the park. It's a joke.
Talk to me about the Warriors. They probably won't get Jackson Ford back until finals if they still make finals.
Yep.
Are the Warriors still capable of staying in the top 4, do you reckon?
Yes, I think they're still capable. It just depends on the other teams and who they're playing and their wins and losses. Mate, the Warriors, when we're talking about it, the Dolphins are flying. Yet the Warriors, with the amount of injuries they've had, are down by 2 in this game. So they're still thereabouts. They're still in the dance. They still have the capabilities to put themselves into a top 4 position, in my opinion.
What do you obviously it's hard because, the Warriors have a lot of injuries at the moment, but
Yep.
let's just say that, on our little pyramid of teams at the moment, Penrith's obviously 1, Dolphins are 2, Warriors are 3. What is separating maybe the Warriors from being on a similar level to the Dolphins?
When I look at it, the Warriors, it's a very difficult question. I go back, and the Warriors have a great back five, but I think the back five of the Dolphins puts them right in the conversation in playing in the grand final against Penrith due to how effective those guys are playing their rugby league. Like Herbie Farnworth, he's generating like an average of 4 or 5 offloads a game. He's skipping across field, breaking tackles, running great lines. Their forward pack is just working together so well. They've got a really nice interchange of how they do everything. Donohue's come out and the bloke looks like a rep player coming off the bench and doing what he needs to do within the team. Their structure's very good. I just think it almost comes back to like who turns up on the day, and obviously on the weekend it was the Dolphins.
Yep, it certainly was. Let's get to your next Super Saturday game and the Cowboys turning up for their man, Jason Taumalolo.
Yes.
Before this game, Jason Taumalolo had not won a milestone game. His 50th, 100th, 150th, 200th. It took him right up until this game here, game 300, that they get the job done for Big JT. I tell you what, we talked about it already, but Nanai is hit on Leota, set the tone for the entire game for the Cowboys, and they did not drop their intensity for the majority of this one.
That play there sort of gave me the mindset of I don't think they're going to lose today. Just that singular play within the first 5 seconds of the game. Because anytime you see Moses Leota get put up and put on his back and drop the ball, whoever's hit him, he's got him really well. And mate, Nanai's got an Origin jersey out of that. And they did get in a solid arm wrestle with Penrith, but the biggest thing for the Cowboys, they ended up rolling over the top of them. And what a game to do it with on Jason Taumalolo's 300th. Massive win.
And he's playing really good footy too, JT.
Yep.
He's playing a sensational footy. He ran for 200 metres in this game. Absolute beast.
He knocked Papali'i out, bumping him off. He had to go for a HIA.
Yeah, I know.
So he's ready to go.
Yeah, look, definitely a bit of a flashback of the old JT in this game, that's for sure. Nanai obviously played himself into an Origin jersey. We spoke about him. I want to talk about Purdue again, mate. Last week against the Warriors, big test for him. They targeted him to try and catch him out defensively. Didn't miss a tackle. This game, 27 tackles, 0 missed again in that 5'8" corridor. Purdue, he's looking good at 5'8" too. His running game nearly scored, I think, 2 tries just by running the ball when they got into good ball. Talk to me about what you've liked to see from what you've liked seeing from Purdue since moving into the 6.
Well, it shows you the bounce back that he's capable of doing. To say those statistics there on missed tackles and then coming out and doing what he did on the weekend, it shows that he cares. It shows that he's put the work in during the week and he wants to play well and, keep turning up for the Cowboys jersey. So, those are the sort of players that you get, I suppose, a lift from. And I think it's going to only be better for the Cowboys with him having that sort of attitude towards his rugby league because he's a very, very handy player.
He is a very handy player. Talk to me about Penrith. I feel like that play at the start of the game, I actually think Penrith weren't expecting for the Cowboys to come out that fast and that intense.
Yeah.
I think that the Panthers got rattled and it sort of stuck with them for the whole game.
Yeah, they had a lot of turnovers too that first 25 minutes, like uncharacteristic drop balls. Dylan Edwards, there was a pass Nathan Cleary did from dummy half in the second half also where he ended up dropping the ball, Edwards. There was, I think Toto had one as well. There was just a lot of uncharacteristic drop balls and unforced errors that sort of just allowed the Cowboys to always remain on top of them, I suppose. Penrith did get themselves kind of back in the game, but the Cowboys were just too strong.
If you had to guess, what did you reckon Penrith's completion rate was in this game?
I seen a statistic that it was under 40% at some stage in the first half, so I'm going to say around maybe 60 by the end of the game.
Yeah, 64%. It was at 38%, I think, in the first 20 minutes.
Yeah, it was something stupid in the first half where I was like, holy shit.
Yeah, it's definitely not Penrith-like, and you could tell that play sort of rattled them a little bit. I'll tell you what, though, if anything, I think it's going to be really good for them over the next couple of weeks. They've been undefeated or, close to undefeated for majority of the year. They've only had 2 losses before this is their 3rd loss of the season, I think.
Yeah.
So this is the exact, 2 losses in a row now, one against the Titans, one against the Cowboys.
Yeah.
That's going to fire them up for a bit of a late season run. What do you reckon?
Yeah, it's a massive possibility. I think you hit the nail on the head because I'd heard there was something I seen today on Instagram where Ivan Cleary had 13 words to say in the whole press conference, and I ended up listening to it, and he wasn't impressed with the performance. And that's probably the first time I've seen him like that.
Yeah, I think they're in for a huge game against us. To be fair, going even without some of their star players, I think we'll see a response from some of the other guys. Toto will be playing in that one. Obviously, we're not being selected for New South Wales for the first time, I think, in a couple of years. So we'll have to wait and see what that response looks like. Speaking of responses, Hamole Olakau'atu gets dropped from Origin. He has had an sensational last couple of weeks, but this game in particular, to score 2 tries in the opening 5 or 10 minutes. Was absolutely insane. Talk to me about big Shmole Olakau'atu in this one for the Manly Seagulls as they get the job done over Melbourne, 30 points to 4.
Yeah, you're talking about setting a tone. He definitely did that. Those 2 early tries and just his intent with everything that he did really set him up. It was good to see Tommy Turbo just gliding across the field again. I think, mate, they are just a different team when he's out on the field. Every time he gets the ball, I just pray he gets through the run healthy. He's a great player. And as we go back to it, and I know he doesn't probably like everyone talking about it, Kieran Foran and that team, I tell you what, they are gelling, and he's got them humming, and they look very good. I thought Fogarty went really well for him. I think Fogarty, he's probably the key for them, in my opinion. Would you agree with that? I think not as in he needs to be their best player, but he's the key. If he's allowed to do what he needs to do and play those 8 or 9 out of 10s and get the team around the park, I think he's a massive, massive thing for that team.
Yeah, for sure. His kicking game is outstanding in play. I think it's a big thing that the Raiders have lost this year. They've lost that really experienced chief playmaker. I think that he adds a lot to their side. Same question here in regards to the completion rate, mate. Guess what Manly's completion rate was in this game?
Oh, it'd have to be up around 90.
95.
Yeah, they made that. I don't think they dropped the. What did they drop the? They didn't drop the ball in the first half, or they dropped it once or something like that. There was only one incomplete set. I remember hearing it.
They had only the 5 errors in the whole game.
Yeah,
they only conceded 1 penalty.
Yeah, see, they obviously weren't, ill-disciplined, but geez, that's like that stat blows my mind because you don't really see that.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
It's wild, eh?
Yeah, there's a big question mark over that. But in saying that, I'm worried about Melbourne. I don't see him playing finals, man.
I think they've been done for a little while.
Toll, I know they said, he said Craig Bellamy doesn't like using the injury toll excuse, but I tell you what, that's the reason why. It literally is, mate. They have been destroyed by injury before the season even started.
Well, they lost Howarth before kickoff.
Yep.
They then lost Joe Chan in the centres. And then they also
the back rower as well.
Moses Leo as well on the wing. So they lost plenty of players there. Melbourne will be interesting to see what the team list looks like this week. Just for Manly, though, I actually want to throw you a similar question. So we talked about it with the Warriors and the Dolphins.
Yeah.
What separates Manly from where the Warriors are currently at? If we're talking about them as the 3rd best team in the comp, I'd say Manly are 4th. What separates those two at the moment, you reckon?
Well, I think obviously I said before, one of the reasons is a healthy Tom Trbojevic, but I think for Manly the biggest thing is doing consistent long periods of the game, playing to their potential. I think they have the ability at times to sort of slip into games and slip out of games, and I think if they can, string some really high quality footy together, say for 65 to 70 minutes of the game, because obviously you can't play the perfect game, but they damn near went close to it on the weekend with a 95% completion rate. I think that's sort of the difference between them, because the Warriors, if you look at the Warriors, I view the Warriors playing 75 minutes into their games and competing at a high rate for a large period of the season, even with players out. I think Manly need to find that groove where they can go do that in away games. At 4 points, mate, they're rock solid. But I think at certain times they can get a little bit wish-washy when they're playing at a different different ground against a high quality team.
You know what I think it is? I think we saw it against the Dogs. It's when they are in those tight grinds against good sides.
Yep.
They do struggle to ice it sometimes.
Yeah, they slide out of the game.
Yeah, well, even just in that Bulldogs game, like we talked about it, when they were trying to get into a position for a field goal, they tried 3 times with Brooks and with Jamal Fogarty, and they couldn't get into the right spots.
Yep.
So I think that's probably the big thing for me, if they're going to compete in finals, especially if they get matched up against one of these sides, the Dolphins, the Warriors, Penrith, is going to be, can they get themselves in the right spots where if it is a 1-point game, have they got the ability to ice it?
Yep.
Now, a big out for Manly for the rest of the season is Luke Brooks. He's done his ACL.
Oh, far out.
What about this for Brooksy, though? Did his ACL... I was talking up myself before about playing through a syndesmosis injury. He finished off the half. He did his ACL with about 10 minutes to go until half time and played the rest of the half out with it.
Far out. Did he not know it was his knee that was gone, or did he?
I'm not too sure, but
from what I've been told, it just makes your leg really unstable. Did he fall over at any stage? I didn't even see him fall over. That's what I mean. Like,
well, he was down on the ground. I was at the game. He was down on the ground, holding his knee for a section there. I'm not too sure what he had thought, but they heavily strapped it. And then there was a couple times where he took a couple of runs and sort of like went down afterwards after he passed the ball. Yeah. So yeah, look, he definitely knew that there was something wrong. Unfortunately, it is that torn ACL. So wishing him all the best during recovery, but a massive opportunity for the young gun, Joey Walsh, right?
Yeah, it's sort of just thrown him straight into the deep end, hasn't it? And what a time of the year towards the back end when everything matters a little bit more, and he could get the opportunity to play some finals footy this year with the Manly Sea Eagles. Good on him.
100%. Raiders and Dragons. We'll quickly touch on this one because this was. Yeah, we talked about the best game of the round a little bit earlier. This was a poo slinger. This was an awful game. Talk to me about this one. Your Dragons obviously did quite well. I thought that they stuck in it. Just got on really unlucky at stages. This was their execution late in the tackle count.
Yeah, well, one try was gifted to Canberra. That was a clear knock on. I don't know how the fuck that guy missed that, but anyway, that's a story that's been getting pumped the last couple of days. I just think we're just shooting ourselves in the foot, But we just put so much effort in it. It's hard to see the poor bastards not get it rewarded with the W. Like, to watch that try be scored and then. The next set of 6, Paul Sloaney dropped the ball and the Canberra Raiders immediately score after and sort of sealed the game. I just don't think, the footy gods are smiling upon the boys at the moment and the club, because it's a different story if you're not putting effort in, whereas I feel they are. And I know effort doesn't mean everything to everyone, but when you're playing footy, effort stops you losing by 60 points. And that sort of showed when they played the Roosters in the Anzac Day game. The Roosters ran right and they probably didn't show as much as they needed to, whereas I just think the last 6 weeks they've been building and building and building and just haven't got the results, and it's it's heartbreaking to watch sometimes.
I'll say this. I don't know when Moses Sully gets back, but I would seriously consider moving Val to the wing. I think he brought it up a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
I just feel like he is a bit of a spot now defensively. There's a couple of really bad misreads from him. I feel like he does need that shift to the wing, maybe to build up a bit of his confidence, because his attack has been all right. He has been good at attacking wise. It has really been just the defense that's let him down this year.
Yeah, I see him as a specialist winger. But I understand too that, with injuries, you've got to play blokes in certain positions. But it'll be interesting to see what sort of shuffle they do with the back line if Sully goes straight back into the centres and they do look to put Moses on the to put Val Holmes on the wing. There's a couple of question marks there with how Dino's going to approach it, I suppose.
Look, for the Raiders, there were some interesting plays there. Look, last tackle execution, even for the Raiders, seems to be a bit of a struggle. Even Ethan Sanders still having a couple of errors in this game. I think there was errors across the park, really. Tamale had a really rough day. Unfortunately got hooked again for the second time this year. Felt so sorry for him. But if there are any positives, Tarpanay was solid through the middle. I thought that him and Couchman had a real battle there through the middle of the field. Both of those guys are very good. I think it is just going to be the last tackle execution for both of these sides and just the development of the halves that's going to be the key as we sort of move to the back end of the year. What do you reckon?
Yeah, 100%. Mate, I tell you what, even though it's not shown at this moment in time, these halves are going to be flying come next year. They'll have another full preseason under their belt. They'll take a lot of lessons and learnings from this year. The forward pack's still going to be relatively the same at Canberra. I think Papali'i will be leaving. I've got no doubt they've got another bloke that'll come in and fill his spot. And I think the Raiders next year will reap the rewards of some hard lessons this year.
Yeah. Let's quickly touch on this Knights and Tigers game. 12-6 the final scoreline. Pretty close one. I thought the Knights probably didn't have their best game. They completed at 68%. I think that the Tigers probably should have won this game, to be fair. Unlucky with the Talon May injury, but this is one I think the Tigers probably should have iced.
Yeah, I think Kalen Ponga was probably the major factor, to be honest. That run down on Makasini was huge. That won him the game. That was a big play by Kalen. I reckon Makasini had 14 metres on him and was probably much hit full stride before Kalen got up to his stride. Great play, massive play. And I think the Knights winning that game shows me a side that they're ready to get down and a bit dirty with playing gritty footy, because it was pissing down rain there. It was disgraceful conditions and they just found a way to win. And that was the difference, obviously. The Tigers still competing, still going hard. I thought Adam Dill was a massive in for them and played a great game of footy. And I see the Tigers, if they can keep Dewey in the team, they'll sneak into the 8.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. I'm not too sure if they're going to be there this year, just with a couple of the other sides, but I certainly think that they're more of a chance with Dewey in the team. He adds a lot of confidence into this outfit. Yeah. Would you reckon Hamasi Makasini best game of his NRL career so far?
Mate, he did really well. Considering he got thrown in the deep end, I don't know if he was going to... He probably wasn't going to play until May got injured. So I think he got out there. He made one or two errors in regards to the missed tackle on Dom Young. But I thought, mate, he's a genuine superstar of the future. He's a genuine, so he has all the traits there ready to go. I think it's just more or less him now, and I think Benji's doing really well with him, is just easing him into first grade. Remember, I made a John Olomu reel about him coming out when he did that try in the trial, so he had a heap of attention put on him straight away due to that skill set in that, 7 seconds of just pure brilliance he had in that trial game. And I sort of think there was a game where he made a couple, probably 2 or 3 errors sort of back to back, and it threw the Tigers into a bit of a whirlwind, and he ended up getting an injury. So he lost a bit of momentum, probably a little bit of confidence. So it's good to see Benji sort of easing him back into first grade. And as I just spoke about Canberra Raiders, him as an individual, I think this year's going to be great for him in regards to learning, getting out there and able to showcase his ability, and another preseason under his belt, and we could have a genuine superstar take shape for us in 2027 in the NRL and Makasini.
100%. Round 18 tips are brought to you by our good friends at BearBet. Make sure if you're going to have a punt, you do it with BearBet, but also do it responsibly. For free and confidential support, call 1-800-858-858 or visit gamblinghelponline.org.au. Panthers and Rabbitohs. The Panthers are $1.83 favourites over the Rabbitohs $2. Which way are you leaning in this one?
I'm leading Penrith winning, and I see them bouncing back from how they played last weekend.
Dragons at Cogra, the underdogs against the Tigers, $1.51 favourites to $2.58 for the Dragons. Which way are you heading?
I'm on the Mighties. Straight up, the Mighties. I'm on them.
Alrighty, I'm going to go the Dragons as well in that one, actually. For the first game, I'm going to go the Bunnies. Broncos and Sharks. It's Broncos are $2.47 underdogs to the Sharks $1.55. It is at Suncorp.
It's at Suncorp too. I'm going to have to go to Cronulla. And I love the Broncos, but I'm going to have to go to Cronulla. I just think they'll have too much.
Yeah, the Broncos will have too many out for that one.
Yeah.
Eels and Manly. Manly are the favourites at $1.35. It is at CommBank though, at Eels home.
Yeah, I'm going to go Manly there. I think they've got too much also.
Yep. And then Knights and Dolphins. The Dolphins are the favourites, $1.68 to the Knights, $2.19. It's another great clash. It is at Newcastle. Which way are you leaning?
I'm going Newey. Newey at McDonald Jones.
No, fins up for me. Alrighty, there you go. That's another episode of Momentum. I'm your host, Big Les, joined by Jakey Marketo as always. Jakey, good to see you. We'll catch up next week for the Origin preview.
Great work, brother.